Hi, I'm Milla, and this is a little video I'm making. Well, it's more, let's say, a little video, but it's more going to be like a long ramble about my 3DS collection, which is behind me here, which is that bit, and not those ZDS, which is for another thing. But yeah, I've got to talk about the consoles and the games, and just ramble at length about my experiences with them at length, and maybe like sit down, get a cup of coffee, or just have it play in the background while you do some work and just hear a gamer gal talk about games she loves and why she loves them, you know. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. Okay, in this little section we're going to start looking at the consoles first. And I've got, because the 3DS is region locked, I have like one for each major region. So this is my PAL one, which is the one for Europe, which is a 2DS XL, so with the pink design. It's really cute. Got it going in a moment, so ironically with a DS game on show, but for a 3DS video. But that's something I really like about the 3DS with backwards compatibility. So it enables me to play things like that. And, oh hang on, I actually have a second one which I forgot about. So yeah, I only really use 3, but I do have a 4th one. There's a thing there, but also my very first 3DS model I got, Christmas present, like when the first Christmas when 3D Land and Mario Kart 7 came out. The reason why I don't use it much anymore is because of, well, that, and also got better models anyway. Like the 2DS XL is a much better model of 3DS to use instead of the small one, which I love it though. Little sock. So that's that. And gonna go on to the import models now. This is the US model. Bear in mind I've not played Pokemon, the case just was cheap. And got a lovely red design there. Aside from like one game, I haven't really used this that much, but you know, there is one game I have played thoroughly which I'll come on to, because there was a big reason why I wanted that, especially like in the past when it comes to certain games just not coming out in Europe physically, if at all, even though ironically I still don't have like most of them to this day because money, and also and just a lot of the time it just 3DS is now retro. Unless I visit like the US, it'll become like prohibitively difficult to pick up stuff. And the third one here is another 2DS XL, but this is a Japanese model. So on the back here, it probably will say, but 2DS LL, which is the 3DS name for Japan, and this is a black and blue. I actually got it when I was studying abroad there, because if now's the time to get some games, then was the time to get it. So 2DS LL, and I remember going to the stores in Japan and seeing all these 2DS and 3DS games, which at the time were brand new and were incredible. Like, it was so weird. Same with the Vita, but the Vita's for a different thing. But with the 3DS, just kind of seeing all these like these games still alive was incredible. So that's the consoles there. So it's 4, not 3, but more like 3 that I use and 1 for nostalgia. So I'm going to start with the games. Bear in mind that because of various circumstances, I've had to get rid of games over the years, and a lot of the games I have left are rare RPGs. So some of them won't be played, so because, well, they're rare RPGs. And I've also got Japanese games as well, some of which I've also not played, but a few I have. And also some MISC stuff from childhood stuff. So, yeah. Starting off with 7th Dragon 3 Code VFD, which is like the only localized 7th Dragon game, officially anyway. There is the rest of them you can play with fan translations. And yeah, I definitely recommend this one. It's a dungeon crawler. It's kind of like Etrian Odyssey's like half sister, if that makes sense. Like, same composer with a really unique music and a graphic style. It's sci-fi, and you can play this as a standalone title. There is references to other games in the series which I haven't played, but I'd recommend at least looking up the background a bit before playing this, just to kind of understand the story a bit, and even though you don't need to, but it just makes it a bit better. And definitely a lot of like class customization, really unique classes, and definitely a memorable game. I'd like to see this series come back. I don't think it will, to be honest, because I mean, I think Sega are pretty much done with this series. But it would be really nice to see it come back. Let me have Concept Revolts, which is the only concept game, which is a long-running card battle series to officially come out in Europe, which... yeah, this was a NIS game, and interestingly, Nintendo published this in Japan, and we were meant to get the first like concept 3DS game originally, at least for Europe, which Nintendo of Europe apparently had it on their schedule, but then it never came out and was removed. So what happened there was a mystery, but it's good we finally got a game in this series in Europe at last. And on to my next stack, which is Dragon Quest. Lots and lots of Dragon Quest. So, I played Dragon Quest 9 on DS, and I was blown away, and I wanted to get a 3DS, partly so I could play all the amazing Dragon Quest games that would come out in English for it, or so I thought. And yeah, a lot of my views with Square Enix were kind of shaped around this time because they just didn't release this stuff there. So we had to practically beg for the official releases for 7 and 8, which I've played 8, which I'll get onto. And then the rest of these games were almost all of them. I'm missing one, and I'll come on to that. But it was basically quite disappointing. And it's one reason why I got a Japanese 3DS, because at this point 3DS is dead, and unless Square Enix decide to port these games, they're exclusive to the 3DS. And fan translations for some of them do exist. So that's kind of an overview. So to start with, I'm going to start with the ones we did get in English, which did come after a fan campaign. We have Dragon Quest VII, which is one of the longest RPGs ever made, which I can kind of understand why that took a while to come over, because like 3 million characters and like whole shelves of vials. And yeah, it's very slow paced, very slow burn. I've not played it yet because it's massive, but it's a great game from what I've heard, and I'm looking forward to digging into it when I've got a couple more like Dragon Quest games done, because these games can be quite a grind depending on what I'm playing, but also I enjoy it, so I don't care. Then we have Dragon Quest VIII, which is one of the best role-playing games ever as far as I'm concerned. I played this version partly because, one, it was portable, and the second reason is in this version the grinding is significantly reduced, which is something that very much appeals to me, because like I do mention grinding, and I like grinding in Dragon Quest within reason, but if it's just a huge grind wall, it doesn't engage me that much. And in this one, I particularly like the characters. I particularly like the party and the dynamics and the world map as well. There is some 3DS exclusive content, like 2 extra characters and some other quests and stuff as well. A camera mode, which I didn't use, but it was there. And yeah, I definitely recommend this game over the PS2 original. I did have the PS2 version in the past, but I started it and I hit the grind wall straight away, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just skip it and wait for the 3DS remake to come out. And it eventually did. And after fan demand, the 3DS 7 and 8 versions came over, and I'm glad they did. Onto the Japan-only stuff now. We have the 3DS version Dragon Quest XI. Now, this is kind of an oddity, because this was a game that I got actually in Japan, in a bargain bin. Like, I went to the mall, and on the 3rd floor, it was like a huge bargain bin, and half the games in it were literally Dragon Quest XI, and possibly another game I might do, I don't know. But this particular game was like, yeah, it's got some unique features. Like, first off, some of it was ported to the Switch when the definitive edition was made, and this version like has introduced the 2D mode, which you can play. Like, it was kind of like heavily promoted, like you see in the screens there, the 2D mode. But what you also see is the fact that the game was basically made from scratch. So like, there is some video footage on YouTube of it. I think Nintendo Life did a video of it. Yeah, they did. and it's literally like the same game was made, cutscenes and all, down to the 3DS. And like there are some like subtle differences in how like the actual game plays out in terms of like the cutscene story, and the fact that it's obviously been scaled down for the 3DS screen, but it's mechanically and by and large like still the same game, which is actually really fucking cool. And I'm quite disappointed it didn't come over. Like I expected it not to, but it doesn't make it less disappointing. So I'm hoping one day to play through this now that I've got it, especially because I played DQXI, because Dragon Quest XI is legitimately one of my favourite games of all time, because it's a phenomenal game. Just so perfectly refined and fine-tuned. Especially for an RPG. It's great. Oh, here we go. Monsters games. I have 2 of them. There are 3. I mean, technically 4, because there is Joker 3 and Joker 3 Professional, which I don't have, which I partly because I thought they'd come over. But these 2 games here in particular are remakes of the Game Boy Color originals, which I've not played, but I'm hoping to play. Terry's Wonderland 3D has a fan translation that's been fully completed for a few years now. And Dragon Quest Monsters 2, Iru and Luca's Marvelous Mysterious Key, is a remake of the Dragon Quest Monsters 2, which had 2 separate releases bundled into one, which I'm hoping to play at some point, depending on how my Japanese goes. Maybe I can play in Japanese or play the fan patches, because one's in the works for my Dragon Quest Monsters 2, which I am hoping gets finished. Slime Mori Mori, Dragon Quest 3, Naruto no Shippuden, something like that. This is basically the sequel to one of the best DS games ever. Dragon Quest Heroes Rocket Slime, otherwise known as Slime Mori Mori Dragon Quest 2. And I've played the majority of this. It's kind of like, it's basically that game but better. Like you go around picking up things on the carts and putting on boats, and just like part like action game, part tower defense, part actually world map exploration, because this game has a fucking phenomenal world map. I love it so much. I really hope I can finish this, because I got stuck when I get to the north of the map, because it's like you explore like a mini planet Earth as well. Like, you know what the globe looks like, and you get the map, and it's literally like split into 9 quadrants, and I'm at the top, and then I got stuck. But it's just so fun to walk around, just see like this world like recreated in Dragon Quest form. It's beautiful. And yeah, you can play this without Japanese mostly, but there is a fan patch for it. Finally, Feet from Dragon Quest, which is basically Feet from Final Fantasy, but with Dragon Quest songs from Dragon Quest 1 up to X. I put this on the back burner because I've played through more of the mainline games, because a lot of the songs I may not be familiar with. But it is nice to have, like, this game. If I hope that it does come over one day. Like, I think now that Sugiyama's passed away, I'm hoping whoever has the rights to music now will not be as asshole-ish about licensing, because that's one reason why the games, like, there were issues getting games brought over. Because, like, the 7 and 8 remakes, they had the orchestrated music cut out and replaced with synthesized stuff, which is good, but not as good as the orchestrated ones. But yeah, I hope to play this one day, because I like rhythm games, I like Dragon Quest, so if it doesn't come to the West in enhanced form, I will play that. Alright, on to my next stack, because I've got second of like 3 major stacks, probably a couple more, but I don't care. Etrian Odyssey. And there were very few games that really took advantage of the DS's features that were not done by Nintendo, but Etrian Odyssey is one of them. And these are like fantastic first-person dungeon crawl RPGs where like it's kind of like playing 2 games at the same time. You've got on the top screen you've got like the dungeon crawling, and on the bottom screen you've got drawing the map. And at times you can actually draw the map while you're in the battle with enemies, and it's really cool. They're kind of like throwbacks to older pen and paper RPGs. I've not played pen and paper RPGs, but I have played these, and I absolutely love this series. Especially in terms of the overall tone, like, especially like the music. I can love the music. The arts as well, which is cool. Which is done by, I can't remember the guy's name. But there are there's 6 mainline games, a couple of spin-offs, across the DS and the 3DS line, as well as remakes, which I have most of the 3DS games. So this one's number 4, which was the first one, like, The first free game that came out on the 3DS, and also the second one Europe got, because in Europe we only got the original Etrian Odyssey on the DS, which Nintendo published here, but the other two didn't come over here. And this game was good. I beat this ages ago. It's a fantastic game. Now, this is the only one I've not played, Etrian Odyssey 5. This one, from what I remember, tried a few different things with the series. It kind of went less of a massive sprawling open map like of Etrian Odyssey 4, but more like back to the whole, like, you go and climb up the world tree of the first 3 games. Or first 2 games, but I've not played this one, and I'm saving it for the future, because I don't think we're going to get something quite the same like we got on the 3DS and DS for Etrian again. So I'm saving it for the future. And my first Etrian game was Untold, and this is the Untold 2, which remakes of Etrian Odyssey 1 and 2, which did come out on DS. And these games are basically, let's beautifully update the game, let's refine the gameplay and update it, make it a bit more accessible, but also let's make a new story mode with characters. And yeah, I've got a soft spot for Etrian Odyssey Untold, because I really like the cast for that. It was kind of like, you could kind of tell it was kind of a work in progress in terms of story, and that you could tell it was an experiment, and that makes sense, and it did pay off. I really enjoyed it, and it's still a fantastic game. I love the atmosphere of the world trees. It was just amazing. And number 2 just refines basically Untold a bit more, and like adds kind of things like a cooking mini game, brings back the princess class from Etrian Odyssey 3, which is probably the best class in the series, to be frank, and just like makes a very unique experience, and I love it. I would recommend this game as the first Etrian game, partly because of the gameplay stuff, partly because of the story mode, which is a bit more refined, and also partly because it's cheaper as well, because Etrian games are expensive, especially if you are going after the Deep Silver published ones. Now, there is one game that didn't come to the West, which, in terms of Etrian games at all, which was the second Etrian Mystery Dungeon game. I don't have the first one, and that's partly because I know there's a huge, really bad difficulty spike towards the end, but the soundtrack for the Mystery Dungeon spin-offs are amazing in terms of Etrian stuff. Like, I legitimately love it and want the soundtrack albums because they're just that good, and I would definitely recommend listening to the music for the Mystery Dungeon games. Now, this was something I actually got in Japan as well, in the bargain bin, a different bargain bin, and there's a reason why. I'm going to get it out, because it came with the first print bonus. The Sekaijin and Mario 10th Anniversary Memorial CD uses Best Album, which is basically, let's just take the best albums, get fans to vote top 50 songs from previous games, and we'll make it a bonus, which I think I talked about it in my Soundtrack OST collection video from months ago, which I'll link in the description. So watch that if you want to hear around about soundtrack CDs. But yeah, not played this, probably never will, but I do kind of hope it comes to the Switch, because I think, although Etrian Odyssey is largely like a relic of the past in terms of dungeon crawling, in terms of the Switch, it is... I think Etrian Mystery Dungeon 1 and 2 would work well on the Switch, especially when you fix the gameplay. The last one, Etrian Odyssey Nexus, aka, let's take all the best bits of the previous games, put them into one game, bring back various dungeons, bring back various characters, bring back lots of things into like an original story, and just kind of, mesh them together into this celebratory experience. And it was one of the last 3DS games to come out. And I'm glad it existed, because I have played part of this. It is really good. And as a fan, it's nice seeing all these references, and it's just really cool, and I love it. I'm going to finish it at some point, but I know it's like easily the longest Etrian game, because it's not just like 1 or 2 floors, or 1 and 2 stratums with like 5 floors each. It's like all these little ones, like 3 floors deep, kind of like an Etrian Odyssey 4 actually. And all this little world map, which is more closer to what's in Mystery Dungeon rather than Etrian Odyssey 4, but it's still a nice little map, and just, it's really good. And I'm hoping to get back to this soon. Oh, hang on. Right, I'm going to finally move on from the big stacks, because that took up like 5-10 minutes of just on those 2 stacks. We have the 2 Fire Emblem games I got, which is Awakening and Fates. I do not have Echoes, even though I actually have the pin set for it, because I gave the job lots on eBay and getting this in and just not selling it, which I may as well keep it, because I do want Echoes anyway. but that's beside the point. Also the same job as where I think I got Fates as well, because no, I did not get that game on its own, because I'll get into Fates in a second, but Awakening was my first Fire Emblem. It was great. I loved it. I'm kind of glad the series is alive now, because this was meant to be the last game, but it's a great game, and if you've got a 3DS and you like RPGs, this is a one to get. Now, as for Fates, I mentioned earlier about not possibly getting got it in the job lot, and basically it was like I didn't really want to play the game, or at least go out and get the game, because it was like, among other things, it was split. So there were like 3 routes in the game: Birthright and Conquest, which got separate retail releases, and Revelations, which is like a digital DLC. And I wasn't really feeling it for that, alongside other issues of the game, like the whole like a petting mini game, which shouldn't have been there, and then it was like taken out in localization as it should have been, and it just led to controversy and shit like that. And then the whole localization did have issues as well, with like the using ellipsis to literally change whole lines, and it's like, and then the pricing structure's like, I'm just gonna wait on this, and then this job block came up, and I got it, and I was like, you know what, I may as well keep hold of it because I've got it. And I did put the cartridge in the test. It's like, oh, it feels like Awakening all over again with that title screen, especially because it actually says Fire Emblem Fates, and it's like, wow, this is actually going to be a complete experience, so I might actually give it a try. And yeah, if I do ever really need money in the future and I'm desperate, though, I will get rid of it, because it's it's good that I've got it, but I'm happy to get rid of it if I need to. Alright, Kingdom Hearts 3D, aka the first Kingdom Hearts game I've ever played. I do not recommend starting with Kingdom Hearts 3D, because you will get very confused with the story very quickly, like I did. But the actual story aside, is like, the gameplay is great. I love the flow motion. I was blown away by the charm and nice scenes from Disney World I was familiar with, and it kind of made me a fan of the series, even though in hindsight I would have started at a different game. Smaller stack now for Kirby. I've not 22 minutes, I need to hurry up. I'm going to get some more, like, not ramble as much if I can. But you have Triple Deluxe on the left, which was, I think, was the first one I started with, especially on the 3DS, and it was a great game. It was quite, I'd say quite, not bland, but like quite vanilla, if that makes sense. Like, it was like, it's a bit generic in its setting, but the gameplay more than made up for it. It was great, and I really enjoyed it. Planet Robobot is easily one of the best like platformers on the 3DS, and I've even heard some call it some of the best in the Kirby series, which, and to be fair, it's really, really fucking cool. And I'm like, I really hope I can like get more Kirby experiences like this. I'm really looking forward to Kirby in Forgotten Land on Switch, which is going to hopefully be phenomenal. But yeah, this game is great, and I recommend getting this if you get a Switch. Not Switch. If you have a 3DS, I definitely recommend this one. And this is a mostly straight port of the Wii game, Kirby's Epic Yarn, and the last first-party 3DS release ever released by Nintendo, with a slightly damaged case, which if I ever get a chance to, I will replace, but that's beside the point. But yeah, I definitely recommend this game. It's really good. Really easy. If you want something nice and easy, this is a great place to start. Let's just get these steps up a bit and then put them up there, which are great games. Luigi's Mansion 2. This is like the next level games. Is like kind of like the one of the games that put me into the spotlight, and I really enjoyed this. I might still have my pre-order bonus, because I did pre-order this actually, and it's definitely worth your time. It's a lot more like structured compared to like Luigi's Mansion 1 on the GameCube, from what I've heard. I've not played the first one. I want to though. That has a 3DS remake, although depending on how I feel, I might try to track down the GameCube original, because they're basically the same. But doesn't matter, because this game is great, and I'm glad I got to play it, because I got really starting to hit the charm of this game, and to see the really coolness of seeing Luigi take center stage and just have his time to shine. It was really good. Mario Kart 7, aka one of the reasons I got the 3DS. I was not disappointed with this. This was like, you can kind of see how it kind of transitioned from like Mario Kart Wii to Mario Kart 8 in terms of adding like the glider and the underwater swimming and the kart customization. And it's really good to play, like, even now in like hindsight, and I did try it a while ago, and the online nowadays is just like plagued by hackers. So if you're going to play this, I'd say get it for local multiplayer with your friends, because this game is objectively still great. And I always have a soft spot for it. I always played 3DS game. Still like a Christmas game, and just like I love it, and it's just easily just incredible, and like a must play on the 3DS. Mario Tennis Open. I don't have much to say on this one, to be honest, but I'm hoping I can dig more into it properly, especially because I'm kind of indifferent towards like Mario Tennis Aces and stuff, because I've not played the newer stuff, and I'm hoping I can dig into this, and if I like really like it, and because I've not played it for a long time, maybe I'll dig into other like newer Mario games. Monster Hunter Stories, aka I'm going to sit around and play this before playing the second game on the Switch, because from what I hear, this game is extremely underrated, and I'm glad it came to the West. It's really hard to find now though, so I'm hoping it gets ported to other platforms, because this game deserves it from what I've seen. And it looks like something up my street, because like mainline Monster Hunter, I've tried to get into that, but I just can't get into it. It's got a very unique like flavour for Monster Hunter mainline, which I just can't vibe with, but I think a game like this that's an actual like turn-based RPG, I think I'll really click with. And especially after seeing how the second game is like, it's like there is like characters in the second game that appear originally in this game, so I'm hoping I can vibe with this game, so I can dig into that. But hopefully maybe this year I'll do it, maybe next year. It will be soon. Monster Strike. So this is an RPG spin-off of the phone game, which never actually came to Europe. It came out in North America and in Japan, obviously. I got stuck quite early on actually, but I might try to go back to this and I've learnt some Japanese, so because there's hiragana in it, and also the actual sliding sections and the touchscreen. When I played it briefly, it was really, really cool actually. So, and yeah, I would have liked to have seen a localization of this actually, because I think I know Nintendo released like Puzzles and Dragons Z, which I don't have by the way, but so I'm hoping that, I thought they would have localized it. I'm hoping that if this game comes back, they'll release it, or like X-Flag will do it, because I think there's a lot of potential for this. There's also Puzzles and Dragons X on the 3DS as well, which is a Japan exclusive, which I don't have, but just a random little side note. Right, next two games, which are kind of a bundle maybe. We have the Persona Q and Q2 games. Just going to move those over there quickly, actually. So I've got a bit more space. There we go. Persona Q and Q2. I was not really a fan of the original Persona Q. I like Persona. I like Etrian Odyssey. Well, I love Etrian Odyssey because I got the whole games, but this basically felt like a really text-heavy Etrian Odyssey, which is not really my thing, to be honest. And like, if I'm in a dungeon crawler, I want to play dungeon crawler. I don't want to like stop every like 3 hallways for a dialogue scene. I just like, it's not really something I go for. And like, I like visual novels, but I feel like for dungeon crawlers, there needs to be fairly light on the plot, unless it's like dedicated split segments, like a VN RPG hybrid, if that makes sense. But I might try this again, because I never finished it. But you never know. I hope to try it again soon. Persona Q2, the last noteworthy 3DS release, like ever, and definitely the last localization too. And this is basically Persona Q with Persona 5 characters and some fixes of the gameplay from what I've heard. And yep, still sealed. Hopes I can. Don't know when I'm going to play this, but never know. Professor Layton the Miracle Mask, aka that time I bought a £2 game in the pawn shop, brand new sealed, but I had to take it off because the sticker was leaving residue and it was sticking to my games, and had to take it off. And I've never actually played a Layton game before. believe it or not. But I might try this, might not. I don't know when I will, but I do want to give it a try. Project Cross Zone 1 and 2. These are... I played the first game to completion. Second game I'm planning to play this year. But these are SRPG hybrids, basically the ultimate JRPG crossover. Like, you've got characters from, like, Sakura Wars, Street Fighter, Dot Hack, God Eater, Tales of Vesperia, just a whole Summon Night 3, a whole bunch of things. Even Fire Emblem Awakening and Xenoblade Chronicles appear in the second game. And I really liked Cross Zone. It does get repetitive, so I was like, you space it out a bit for me, like, just not like, I'm not jumping straight to the second game, but I feel like something that's great for like a bus ride or something we've got an hour to kill, just play this game. There's not much in the way of strategy, but it's just, let's just enjoy the ride and the feels and the visuals. It's incredible. And yeah, I hope to see a third game someday. And Monolith Soft also developed these, so, which is nice. I do want to play more of the games actually star some of these characters, like Super Road Wars Endless Frontier, because that's one of the games. Tales of Vesperia as well. I played a few more, like, I don't want to play more, and well, I would say Fire Awakening and Xenoblade, but I've kind of played those, so, you know, just more I recognise the better, really. Yeah, still going. Puyo Chronicle. This was a game that I basically used to teach myself Puyo because I got this in Japan, and I was studying abroad there. One of the things I did was a day trip, and I literally was teaching myself how to play Puyo with the free mode, which is this bit here, as I was taking the bus to and from this place, and it was incredible having that memory associated with games like this. And I got this at the same mall as well, but not discounted, because at the time it was like, it would been around almost a year since it came out, so I felt it wasn't coming at this point, and I felt like it was a missed opportunity to release it in the West. But I'm hoping that, given that Puyo is a bit more prominent now with the Tetris crossovers, that Sega might go back and do this. And I think it's worth doing, because I think this will have a market here. Puyo RPG, because that's the thing that makes it stand out. There's like a whole story mode in one half of the game. It's just like, it's so cute, and I hope I can dig into it one day when my Japanese is up to par. And I believe it has Furigana, but don't quote me on that. Rating Historia, perfect chronology, aka one of the best games of all time. As far as I'm concerned, I fucking love this game. It's easily one of the best Atlas has ever produced. 3DS and DS-wise, there is a bit of content changes in terms of like the art style, and a couple of CGs, and the extra content with this person, Nemesia. But aside from that, it's basically the same game. This 3DS version now is extremely expensive. The DS version is still going for like 35, 40 quid at the moment. So I'd say, if you're okay with, it has an easy mode. So it's, I'd suggest playing the 3DS version with the easy mode. So, or you can get that on the eShop at the time of writing. It's all probably like, not time of writing, time of recording. It'll probably eventually go down, but otherwise, if you're fine with that, I'd say get the DS version, because the actual main story on its own is phenomenal and it's worth experiencing. This is a great game, and I hope to see it get ported to consoles one day, like Switch and Steam. Right, I've got another stack now. Another stack. This is the last stack, though. And, yep. Shin Megami Tensei, with one noticeable omission which will become obvious when I talk about it, if you don't know already. Shin Megami Tensei 4. This is the game I partly wanted to get a US 3DS for, because at the time when this came out, it was quite notorious in that Atlas didn't release it physically in Europe. And at the time, it was back when Atlas had... they hadn't quite woken up to the idea of having a European branch to release their own games in. And it meant they'd go through third parties. And sometimes it meant the fact that they couldn't find a publisher. And I suspect that's what happened with this game. I remember the PR guy at the time said it was like Conception 2, which is a different game, came out digital only around the same time. But after the US launch, over a year actually, it came out digital on the eShop for a discount. And people were understandably quite pissed off because, like, if you look in Europe, you see, like, this massive, like, hole in the collection because you've got this game, which is, like, the first Shin Megami Tensei game to have, like, some more accessibility features to make it more playable compared to, like, the older stuff, which is brutally hard. It just felt kind of missing, and then a lot of people ended up getting the 3DS for this, and that's one reason I wanted mine. And also to get like other launch editions that didn't come out in Europe as well, but that kind of, I don't care for minor bonus shit like that anymore. But yeah, I definitely recommend this game. It's still in the eShop, and I would get, if you want to play this game now, I'd say get it. Especially if you're in Europe and don't have the means to pick up a US 3DS and or don't want to hack your consoles to break the lock or anything. It is a fantastic game. There is a semi-sequel called Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse, which is the game I don't have because it's really fucking expensive, and Deep Silver, who published it, don't print enough physical copies for their Atlas games. Strange Journey Redux. This is a remake of Strange Journey on the DS. It's basically Etrian Odyssey, but with an Shin Megami Tensei like skin, and also a throwback to earlier Mega 10 games, because like 1 and 2, we never got those on consoles. 2 didn't come out in English at all. 1 came out on phones, and you can't play it anymore, and it's been delisted for several years now. So you can't play those anymore, so I'm hoping to play this. It's the first one with art by Masayuki Doi, because the guy who did the art before for the series, who did this one, Kazuma Kaneko, like, has basically stepped back from Atlas for the most part. Like, you still see him credited on things like Persona 5, but he hasn't actually been at the forefront for a long time in Atlas. So it means that naturally this includes a new illustrator for Mega 10, and I really like the illustrations for this, and I'm hoping to play it. Probably like when I need an easy game, because this also has an accessibility mode. Is it on the back here or no? But it does have a new character, and yeah. Also, I just love the demon art in these games. Devil Survivor 1 and 2. I'm on this game, still stuck. Day 3, end of day 3. You might know the stage, I'm still stuck. I keep trying every now and then, but I'm just like, I'm done. I can't, just like, it's just exhausting. And that's basically the T. That's the T, it's exhausting. And yeah, it's a great game. And the Devil Side 2, I won't even touch that till I've done the first one. That is not changing. But I'm looking forward to that. Devil Summoner Soul Hackers, otherwise known as the missing entry in the classic Shin Megami Tensei RPG series. And yet, for just a few minutes ago, I was talking about Shin Megami Tensei 1 and 2. And there's still more other Japan-only games. And this one's hard as well. I've not played it, but... Stella Glow, SRPG that was made by Imaki Pok, if you know Imaki Pok, like Luminous Arc and stuff, and that. So the actual gameplay is really good. There was one scene like halfway through the game which kind of like soured my whole experience. It was basically like a peeping Tom shower scene, or those kind of things seen anime. It's just, it kind of was like, it kind of broke the immersion for me. So it kind of was like, it turned what was a potentially a great game that could be a top 10 of all time is just a very good game. Like, it's still worth playing. Like this, I love the vocals for the songs. I like the dub is good. The gameplay is really good. Like, it's quite simple, but that's okay. And it's like, the maps can take a long time, but it's like quite engrossing. And a lot of people do recommend it's like a hidden gem, and it's why Atlas picked it up, I guess. Especially because at the time it was like Sega had just bought Atlas, so it was like, I guess was like the first like integration, if that makes sense, because now Atlas don't do third-party games anymore, they only do Sega stuff. So you get games like this, and I'd say if you're okay with like a peeping Tom shower scene, pick it up. But yeah, I point out because I just really did, it just jarred me so much, and it's a shame, because otherwise this is a fantastic game. I've been at this for like nearly 40 minutes now. Good God. Super Mario 3D Land, I'd say, like, it's a great game. I do like this one. It was one of the first games I got at the 3DS as well, with Mario Kart 7 that Christmas. It helped save the 3DS. I really like this game. It's quite short, and until the last few worlds in the special zone, it's quite easy, really easy. But yeah, I'd say in terms of 3D Marios, it's probably among the weaker ones, but that doesn't mean it's bad. Like, they're fantastic. I'd say if you play 3D World on the Wii U or the Switch, you can see how that's an evolution of this. And this really feels like, as it says, a pick up and play. And yeah, I'd say if you're a fan of Mario games and platformers, whether 2D or 3D, pick this up. It's really cheap. And maybe even jump on the 3D World and get a nice little game, especially if you've got a 3DS. I'd say there's other better 3D Marios, but this is still a fantastic game and definitely one of the best on the 3DS. Taiko no Tatsujin, Shibi Dragon and the Fushigana Orb. This is a 3DS game. And I actually got this in Japan. Like other Japanese games here. And did actually play this one fully. Because this was the first of 3 released on the 3DS. And I really did enjoy it. Like, I didn't play the story mode because, well, Japanese. But the songs are great. Like Pon Pon Pon, Tell Your World. I don't recognise some of these. Or Nehu Matsuri, or whatever the 365 one is, I don't know, but yeah. And interestingly, like, with Japanese games, they're in really good condition, because this is the only game I got where it's actually missing, like, an item, where this is the drumsticks that sit on the back are missing, which, considering how good Japan keep their games in pre-owned, is quite really good that it's only just that's missing. And yeah, this was actually the first Taiko game I played. So yeah, Taiko game on the 3DS, and it's good. Like, especially when it's like you can like plug it in headphones and just zone out and just groove to what is fantastic music or playing this game. It's classic Taiko. And there were 2 other like 3DS Taiko games, but they later came west on the Switch as part of the Taiko the Tatsujin Rhythmic Adventure Pack. So this is why this is the only one I've got. Otherwise, I'd have those other 2. Because those games are great. Tales of the Abyss, which is easily one of the best Tales of games of probably of all time. Especially in my view, like, and I've played 2, like, I played Hearts and Abyss, and this is the one I like a lot more. But like, to be fair, like, when fans talk about Tales, there was, like, I'd say 3, but obviously this might change since Arise came out, because Arise has been like, oh, this is the rebirth the series needed, and to be fair, like, it looks fucking incredible. But the games people recommend playing are this game, Symphonia, which originally came out on the GameCube, and Vesperia, which you can play on modern platforms now. And yeah, this game is great. I love the dynamics of, like, Luke's character development. He basically starts off as an arsehole, but then becomes a fantastic protagonist by the time the game ends. The gameplay is really simple. The world is interesting, like, based on the score and destiny and stuff. I really, really like this game. And as a side note, like, this game has a thick manual in it. So, like, you can kind of see a thick manual, and, like, at the start of 3DS life cycles, you can see all these devs, like, putting really thick manuals in their games. And then at the end of the cycle, it's like, they don't put literally anything in them now. So, like, you go from manuals to no manuals. Which is, kind of, you can see how it changes, but it's an interesting little side note with that. And you can still kind of get this now. Like, in Europe, we never got the PlayStation 2 version, because this is a port for PS2 game. So if you're in Europe, this is the only way you can play it legitimately without hacking or importing. But I do that a lot, so. Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D. This game is also great. I didn't play the original Zelda in terms of the N64, so this is the version I played, and it's a great game. I don't have the nostalgia for it the way other people do, so I'm not like, oh, this is the best game of all time, it's amazing, you must play it. It's still a great game, and if you're into gaming at all, this is kind of like required playing to kind of like, to see for yourself, because this added a lot of new features at the time, like the Z-targeting, so you can target enemies. That's one example. And just like, there's so much in this game, it's fantastic, and you just like, yeah, a fantastic game. Oh, for fuck's sakes. There's only 2 more left now. Taiko, no, not Taiko. Right to Learn Doraemon. This is a port of a DS game, and I believe, like, the company who made them, Shangoku Kan, made a bunch of these games for the DS and the 3DS, mainly ports, and then they ported more to the Switch, but not this one. This is basically practicing your kanji and your kana, mainly kana actually, because of the age gap for like 4 to 7-year-olds. Like turtle, kane, ringo for apple. It's really like, I should try this again soon actually, especially for learning Japanese. But yeah, this is one I got in Japan as well, because I tried to learn Japanese at the time and it was just so overwhelming with everything. It was like I had to stop, and this went on the back burner, but you know, starting again, nearly at a 20-day streak at the time of recording, I'm going to absolutely smash it. And that means playing more of this. It's more of software than a game, but it's a 3DS software, so it's a game. I don't care. Yoshi's New Island. I really like this game. I know a lot of people hate on it, but I did like this game. The art style, I can definitely see why people don't like it, because I think compared to like Yoshi's Island DS and the original, the art isn't as good, but that's fine. It doesn't have to be like super amazing as long as it's not ugly. And it's not ugly, it's still really good. And I definitely recommend this game, especially if you've got a 3DS. It's a great platformer. And with all that said, this is my collection as it stands as of this video, which I overall do quite like it. I'm happy with what I've got, especially with all the rare RPGs, which I'm glad I was able to hold on to. I do want to pick up some of the common games I had to get rid of over the years, especially like New Super Mario 2, for example, Paper Mario Sega Star, even things like Ghost Recon or Epic Mickey and other stuff like that. But overall, I'm really happy, and I'm missing like Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse and a handful of other games, especially like imports from the US and Japan, which will happen eventually, but not for a while, which is fine in terms of what I want to be happy. But even then, I'm happy with this. I've got a really good collection, a lot of good like memories associated with it, especially as this handheld is a retro console now. Basically, like it is basically retro now. It's basically not in stores anymore, and the eShop will eventually go down. It's a fact of life, it will eventually go down. And if you've enjoyed watching or listening to me ramble for like what is easy, like about almost 50 minutes, like wow, consider like, comment, subscribing, etc. Looking at the podcast, Milla's Gaming Podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and other stream platforms of your choice. And all sorts of other forms of engagement on your platforms of choice. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a nice day. Bye-bye.